I'm excited about this panel because we're going to look at it from the buyer's perspective, where rubber hits the road, right? And we're going to take it up a few levels. We're going to talk about advanced TV holistically. So that could be data, attribution, index buying, VOD, OTT, addressable, linear. Let's talk about it all. So Julie, I want to start with you. You're probably the closest to the dollars, right? Tell me what the top 3 things your clients are most excited by in the current array of offerings in advanced TV.
So I think the clients, truth be told, ask for things and they don't actually know it is advanced TV. So the first thing is audiences. And they don't know what they're asking. They just know that they're supposed to be moving away from demo, and they know that they technically can begin to target people that actually have the propensity to buy their product, go to their store, but they don't actually understand that that's an advanced TV ask. Of course, we purchased Axiom not so long ago, so my client's biggest ask is, how do I use Axiom to apply it to my buys? What's really important to remember is that comes with a caveat. How do I use data to purchase television and maintain my bases and keep my upfront intact and actually guarantee on the demo and just read out on the target? And even if I do guarantee on the target, my KPIs reach or audience composition. So they don't actually they don't know they're asking for advanced TV, but right. Again, it comes with a lot of really traditional caveats.
So first thing is the data.
First thing is,
data
yeah,
for
I know I
targeting.
can get audiences, but I don't really know how or why. Second is OTT. They just know that there is a thing called OTT. They know they need to start spending there. And the number one thing that I get asked is, what is the actual deduplication between the offerings, between the Tubi, the Xumo, the Pluto? They may each have 20 million uniques per month, but how much of that is a crossover? So it's a lot of, how do I buy? What do I buy? And again, even that, a lot of that purchasing is DAR-based or P2+. So that's the second thing. And again, I don't think they know OTT is advanced TV. And then the third thing is probably putting it all together, and that's incremental reach. So I want incremental reach. I want OTT to deliver incremental reach. I want an AdSmart buy or a Dish buy to deliver incremental reach on top of my upfront. So the third bucket is very traditional in nature, but they are going to start using advanced TV tactics and levers to deliver that. But that is a big focus these days.
Okay, so we're making some progress. They're asking some really good questions.
Yeah.
Asking
questions.
Okay. Sean, tell me what you're hearing from the buyers. So you have a very sophisticated offering, some fabulous data, addressability, and you have a sling, you've got a whole bunch of things to offer in that equation. Right. So tell me what you hear from the buyers.
All right, well, the first thing is education and clarity in the marketplace about what offering should be utilized to solve what problem. So that's the first thing, right? And when we enter the marketplace, we take a stance of, let's be very clear about what addressable is. Let's define that, right? Deterministic, actionable identification of audiences on a household level. So we go into the marketplace with that. We talk about what OTT is and what our offering does and the skinny bundle versus what the other competitors do. And we don't sell against them. We think that education in the marketplace helps us all, that it truly is trying to raise all boats with the tide. And then the other thing that we're hearing about is the challenge of reach and frequency modulation, how you manage that. So we have some solutions in the marketplace that we're bringing to market now, Reach Booster, and there are a few different MVPDs have their own solutions that align with that. But we think, because we have such rich data and is deterministic and we can understand the household, and to Carolyn's point, we were early in the marketplace to open up our data and make it actionable for advertisers and agencies, but we also have to be very cautious of our B2C business, right? That's our core business. So, we're very protective of our data, but we make sure that we can harness it in ways.
You mean from a privacy standpoint?
From a privacy standpoint.
Okay.
So a lot of folks are moving towards privacy. We had to start with privacy before we could enter and really stand up a good solution in the marketplace for advertisers.
Okay, Brad, how about you? So you're offering a fabulous product as well to the marketplace.
We are. I think, really we're seeing a lot of differences across the market depending on where a particular marketer or agency is in terms of maturity around advanced TV. So for those that are really embracing it most fully, I think they're looking to remove friction. They're looking to bring down the walls and be able to have simplicity in the way that they're achieving, I'll call it total reach, right? Reaching the full set of people you'd like to reach across the different delivery mechanisms that television can be delivered via. Then we've got the education piece that Julie was alluding to. It just, there are so many people who would like to tap into the capabilities of advanced TV, but really, how do you go about it? How do you tackle it? How do you really identify the right data to be targeting? I don't know about others, but we see sometimes advertisers who have a confused perception of what target they should really be using, and fortunately, addressable television lets them kind of learn from their mistakes, although sometimes the conclusion is, addressable doesn't work for me. Maybe your target, maybe you're creative. So I think there's a real spectrum of variation between agencies right now and different people within agencies in understanding and being able to embrace the space. But if I had to pick one thing, removing friction, reducing points of contact. Within, if I think of connected TV, advertisers can come to the Verizon media platform or any number of other DSPs and buy connected TV across many different suppliers with ease. That process for a linear addressable, for example, is a lot more complicated than add in the traditional linear piece. And so I think we as an industry need to look toward simplification while maintaining the important elements of context and the things that we're beginning to slip away from a little bit too.
Do we think some of the ease of buying OTT is at the expense of the transparency? Of what you buy. So are all DSPs transparent in the OTT space in what you're actually buying?
I think there's varying levels of transparency. Particularly around fees that one incurs when making purchases. These taxes are important to understand.
I'm even at just inventory transparency.
I'll jump in.
How are you helping your advertisers know actually what they're buying?
So what's unfortunate about the situation with transparency and OTT, at least at IPG, we're probably 99.999 managed service direct IO for all of our OTTs. Even if we're buying from a platform, an aggregator, or whatnot, we're still buying in a managed service direct IO function. So we get transparency because we're getting real plans. As we equate OTT to the new television, we make it look like TV, which might not be the best choice, but it helps move the dollars, which is the ultimate goal this year. I think when we first started buying it, there was no transparency because we were only buying Hulu and Roku. Sorry, Asaf, I never said this. But those two partners are not transparent partners. Hulu can get away with it because it's all TV.
They're Hulu.
You can run me in Flavor of Love, but I love Flavor of Love, so you can't judge me for that. But it's not a cat video. It's still television. Tiffany Pollard for life. It's still television. So they can get away with telling me that I ran in a drama. Roku cannot get away with it, especially as over the last 5 years, Roku was the only kid on the block. So as buyers, we were just like, there's no other option. So we just kind of have to be okay with what's happening. Now that there are...
Sling transparent.
Now that there is Sling and Verizon. No, now that there are other entrants for Roku, like Samsung and
Look
Amazon.
At how much Roku revenue is. So
much.
somebody's buying non-transparent media.
And we are. But now as we move into 2020, their competitors are fully transparent on an app level.
Yeah.
And what's happened is they're now left where they have to be transparent on an app level. And I've tried. I called all the heads of ops at the programmers to get them to renegotiate their Roku contracts on behalf of IPG to get the transparency. It really is a hard conversation, but they have to do it because now that TV buyers are buying it, they our clients like to know exactly where their spots ran. So we're at a point where app level is good enough, which is not good enough, but it's progress.
Yeah. Okay, 4C, tell me what you're hearing. What for your clients, what do they most value in your product? How are they using it? What are they asking for it to do differently?
Yeah, so the macro theme is they're asking us to connect the dots, right? I think Lisa, you kind of said it, connect the dots, make things simple. Now, what that practically means in this space is convergence of linear and OTT. That's the biggest thing. Having been in this space for 3 years or so now, everyone's asking us for connect the dots such that we can address maybe 3 scenarios, right? How do I build a unified plan against a single audience that spans linear TV and connected TV? How do I extend my existing linear TV buy, right, and find incremental reach, but it doesn't just stop at incremental reach, it also goes into frequency management, supplemental frequency. And finally, if I'm running the two, how do I measure things in a consistent way? And by the way, it doesn't stop at reach and frequency. Of course, it goes into outcomes. So, as a software company, we like to boil it down. The only way we're going to solve problems, not boil the ocean, is solve specific use cases.
Yep.
And I think, those 3 use cases that I'm talking about, convergence of linear and OTT, technology, I can bet you, technology is not going to be the challenge this year. Those things are going to be solved from a technology perspective. I can bet you that. Right now, it's going to be about process and people and other things. Does it come together in unified buys?
Okay, we're making some progress.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a pet peeve about OTT that I would love a quick answer. Let's go down the line. Is OTT addressable? Yes, no,
Yes.
or could be?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. We've been doing that for at least 4 years now.
It generally is, and people think of it as addressable, but depending on the platform and depending on the provider and a bunch of other variables, in some cases it's not. So this, I think, gets to the inventory quality issue. And what's very different today is that unlike traditional linear television, where there were a small number of outlets that were monetizing the inventory, we're seeing with OTT, connected TV, everybody's selling the same thing, but just going about doing it somewhat differently. So
But
I
are
think
they
the
selling
key now
it
is really
addressably? I mean,
sussing out
God,
the
what a
quality.
waste of a great technology if you're not selling it addressably. I mean, I get maybe when you start small, you want to just sell as much as you possibly can, but as it grows, I mean, aren't we
But
just
the
missing the whole?
the buyer can limit themselves to buying just the inventory that in fact can be addressed and can be measured. So you begin to then break down the inventory based on those type of characteristics and
So
who
yes?
you're going to do business with based on those
I'm
characteristics.
like, okay, I got 2 really easy ones because I knew those were going to be easy. So you're a maybe.
In some cases, it's not maybe. It's in some cases
It's not.
absolutely perfectly with crystal clear resolution. And in other cases, things are being blocked along the way that prevent that resolution from occurring.
Okay, and how about you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Why is it a separate category, by the way? I mean, why do we call it, like it's almost as if there's this thing called addressable, and we're reserving that concept for only linear television, which is my pet peeve. And really, OTT, like I just look at eMarketer, it's like addressable is going to grow to 3 billion, and OTT is going to be 9 billion. I'm like, that's the same thing. I don't really understand why we are talking about them differently. Okay,
It's
so
parts-
tell me
I
what
know.
you think. Is this a pet peeve of yours, or you're like,
It's
carry
a pet
on?
peeve, but I think for a different reason. Addressable was 2 minutes of local time sold by the set-top boxes and satellite companies on a household level. That was the definition of addressable. As an industry, we have stolen the word, turned it to a targeting methodology, and are now trying to use it cross-screen. So I think it's almost a pet peeve of mine because I just don't know why we used the same word. I just think we did a lot of work in the addressable space defining what addressable TV was.
I never defined it to 2 minutes or household.
It just was
or
understood that it was like, I'm going to do an addressable plan. That means I'm IOing this guy. So I think now it just was something so crystal clear, and now we're just using it as household targetability wherever we are. And the other thing, kind of to Brett's point, even though I was a quick yes, is addressable and OTT is also very different. Because addressable with him is actually a sub. It's actually tying to a sub, but an addressable with him is an IP. So it's actually very...
Well, some of his is IP,
Right,
because
but
I buy addressable on
Sling,
Sling.
a Sling subscriber, you have a subscriber file where an
IP-based.
AVOD service, you don't. It's IP-based. So there is a discrepancy in what kind of addressable you're doing in OTT. I think that's why there's the trouble, but I do think it's because as an industry, like, addressable TV is like what I used to buy from Modi, from Sean. And now it's like, oh, it's household targetability and digital. And we're all like, what?
It was never that to me. It was always a bigger concept. You know, the only thing that I like about separating them is, to your point, that you really do have to understand the mechanics of the difference between a set-top box delivered addressable ad and an IP delivered ad, because the data to target is completely different. The way you measure, you know, because of the targeting is different. So that I'm okay with, but I'm just like, these aren't two separate things. And, well, I mean, I guess they are if that's the way we define it, but...
They are from investment. They just still are.
Okay.
And one of the things, we talked a lot about delivery mechanisms yesterday. In an IP world, right, OTT and addressable, they look very similar. In an IP world in the future, they just look very similar, right? They will. So I don't think it should be two different things, but hey, that's for someone else to define.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like people are like, addressable's going to die because we're all going IP, and I'm like, that's the point, is that we're going to go individually delivered, and that means it can be addressable.
You're not wrong. It's just whoever said that is defining addressable as I bought from a set-top box in the local to minute.
Okay,
Right.
I've alleviated my pet peeve.
I'm glad I could help
I
you.
feel a little better.
We're solving problems up here.
Thank
But
God we
it goes
came
back
here.
to the Einstein quote, right? Not
Yep.
all OTT is addressable, right? Not all addressable is OTT. It can be OTT or live linear and VOD on a set-top box, right? So I think you have to define who the source is. And
I
it gets
just-
back to Brett's
I
point.
believe all OTT should be addressable. I mean,
But
if
it can't
is-
be, because not all subscription-based, right? So in IP,
But it's individually
although it's
served.
valuable,
Okay,
is
I'm gonna
not
start
as
getting
stable.
fired up. I'm going to start getting red.
You don't know who's in front of the TV. It's not individually served.
Okay, we'll solve that problem. Okay, so give me the 3 things that the buyers are not talking about yet for 2020 that you, or one thing, how about one thing? One thing that you think is gonna get on the radar that isn't quite, you know, making the top 3 list on the buyers' desires for 2020. Like, let's look forward a little bit.
Live linear addressable.
I think that is on the buyer's hot
I mean, I
list
know
today.
it is. I am,
She didn't put it
I
on the
am
top
literally
3.
the only technical buyer on an investment team in this whole room. That is it. My clients don't even know it's a thing. If I said I'm on Project Or, they'd be like,
That's
don't know.
why I made
No
you sit
idea.
next to me.
I know.
I mean, you're
They have
in
no
the
idea.
driver's seat.
They don't know we're talking about it. They don't know they need it. They don't know how it's going to fit in their upfront. Nothing. There's a lot of work in that.
So it didn't
Area.
hit the top 3, but it's going to be a huge topic for 2020.
I think it'll be a huge topic in 2022.
Well, okay. Oh,
Sorry.
okay. How about you?
I think it's putting clear definitions around solutions that are in the marketplace and ease of connectivity to transact, right? And those are the things that we're really focused on. So we're open. We work with people, right? And that's what we think should be the solution. As a marketplace, we have to solve a lot of these problems together. We don't sit in a silo and say, we have the household, we have the subscriber, work with us. It's how do we solve this together?
Great shift coming.
You know, I think really I would just build on what Julie and Sean have said. I think that more inventory becoming available as addressable inventory, and then I think there'll be an increasing need to rationalize how reach and frequency is being managed with addressable in the mix. I know there's a lot of players that are looking at connected TV relative to linear TV schedules, but I think that linear addressable, I'll call it, or set-top box addressable, and any new sort of additions to that capability through other tech need to be brought into those reach and frequency models and tools in order to allow addressable to really flourish. Because otherwise, marketers will be able to see clear incremental reach between linear television and connected TV, but they won't have that kind of insight around these addressable offerings.
Okay. How about you? Last word.
Yeah, I think it is really the connectivity, right? Not buying connected TV, OTT in a silo, but recognizing that there are solutions out there that essentially allow you to link it to your linear buy and just make it more effective. But it just requires a change in mindset and education. I think, but it's there. It's possible.
Well, I'm really encouraged by all the conversation about unification and simplification. So thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Trace.
That's great. Thank you.